Football 24/7 with NFL insider John McMullen across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. The countdown to kickoff now moves to 10 days away from the opening game in Atlanta, a 1 p.m. start. John McMullen will be in Atlanta covering that game. What will he see and what will he talk about? We'll hear it first on the new live post-game show here across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. More on that as this segment rolls on. But first, Johnny Mac, as we bring you in on this Thursday night, roster moves, a vet returns, a cornerback is claimed. And who was on the podium today? Let's start with roster moves and get everybody up to speed, Johnny Mac, because I think because of the storm and all of the inconvenience that was caused, I think maybe a lot of people weren't on social media today. They may have missed some of the moves coming out of South Philadelphia.
Yeah, a lot of actual roster moves today. Obviously, today was when the Eagles put 3 players on injured reserve. So short-term injured reserve. So you carry the guys on the original 53 because they're not going to be out significant time. And then you can move them to injured reserve after that initial 53. And they have to miss 3 games. So that's Jack Driscoll, who's on IR with a pec strain. Josiah Scott, who's on there with a hamstring strain, and obviously the one more significant injury is Tyree Jackson, who's going to be out about 2 months or so with the fracture in his back. But obviously the Eagles thought enough of him as a developmental prospect that they didn't want to risk losing him through waivers. And he'll be back most likely some point in the second half of the season or close to midseason. So he'll at least be able to practice and keep that developmental train rolling, so to speak. For Driscoll and Scott to have to miss 3 games. So that's a lot better than the alternative. When you're put on injured reserve before the initial 53, then you're out for the season. So that's sort of the strategy you're working with. So those extra roster spots, the Eagles brought back Hassan Ridgeway. So that was a player a lot of people thought should be here. But as a veteran, you could probably stash him away because he doesn't have to go through waivers. That's exactly what happened. He's back. And then they claimed a player on waivers from Indianapolis, and obviously that's key because it's a defensive back, as you mentioned, Joe. Andre Chair. I don't even know how you say his name. We'll hopefully get that when we get him in town. But Jonathan Gannon, obviously the Eagles defensive coordinator, had him with the Colts. Did talk to one of the Colts writers. He's a very versatile guy. He plays corner, plays safety. He's a little bit bigger, so he's 6 foot, about 200 pounds. So, outside corner would make a lot of sense for the Eagles. Or if he can play safety, obviously with Rodney McLeod. Rodney's back at practice. Rodney has said week 1 is his goal, but I got to tell you, he's wearing a pretty significant brace on his leg as he rehabs from that torn ACL. So that's always a concern. And then finally, a bunch of practice squad signings from outside the organization. So they signed a tight end, Nick Eubanks. They signed a wide receiver, Keyshawn Johnson, not that Keyshawn Johnson, but a different one. And a defensive tackle, Marvin Wilson. So their practice squad is full. In fact, it was 2 full. They had to waive 1 player, and they waived Graylin Arnold from the practice squad. So that's a lot of movement. That's a lot, as we told you, it's going to happen. Significant movement, and those were all the Eagles roster moves today. I think I got them all. There were so many.
This is one of those moments where I'm glad that I proudly profess that I'm not the NFL insider or the football expert, and you are, because when I saw the cornerback claimed today from Indianapolis. My first reaction was, who? Who is this guy? He's been in the league a couple of years, but he hasn't done a lot, has he?
No, he hasn't. He originally was an undrafted free agent coming in from San Jose State. So, and he's been around a little bit. So you mentioned, uh, he hasn't been uh, in the league very long, but he's been in a lot of spots, which tells you a couple things. I mean, it doesn't mean necessarily bad things. We talk about Alex Singleton a lot on this show. You look at the transactions in Alex Singleton's life until he caught somebody's eye. It was one stop after one stop after another, and he had to keep searching for an opportunity. He finally got an opportunity here, and he's taken advantage of it. So that's what you have to hope with Andre, and the fact that Jonathan Gannon thinks enough of him. He had him last year in Indianapolis, but he started in Houston with the Texans. As I said, he was undrafted. Then he went to Detroit, Arizona, Carolina, back to Arizona. Finally ended up in Indianapolis, and now he's in Philadelphia. So you're talking, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different transactions in 4 years. So, I mean, anytime you're picking up somebody on waivers, I think, fans don't understand. You're not getting a top tier player, most likely, who's going to help you at least immediately. Hopefully, he can develop down the line. And obviously, JG thinks enough of him that he thinks the Eagles should at least take a look. And it can't hurt because, as I said, they need some help at outside corner. Really, they're solid with Darius Slay and Steve Nelson as the starters. But then you're counting on Zach McPherson as a rookie. So you need some more help there. And if he has that versatility and has the ability to play safety as well, because we don't know, we're sort of uncertain about Rodney McLeod and where he is coming back from the knee injury. Kayvon Wallace has struggled with injuries in training camp. So really, you're only looking at Anthony Harrison, Marcus Epps as guys who are completely healthy for week 1 in Atlanta.
I know you don't get a chance to watch practice, as you explained yesterday. 20 minutes in after stretching, you're escorted out into the media room or wherever you're escorted, but you don't get a chance to actually watch practice. I'm curious, John, was there any conversation or chatter about how Rodney McLeod appeared yesterday, practicing, how he appeared today with that brace? How's his movement? Does he look good? Does he appear to be ahead of schedule, right on schedule? What do you hear?
Well, his schedule's always been week 1. So, I mean, he is back in that sort of time frame where you're getting a little bit of extra preparation. Obviously, the game planning will start in earnest next week after Labor Day. But the fact that he's on the field, the fact that he's practicing is obviously very good news. It's 8.5 months basically post ACL surgery, and generally that's a 9-month injury at this stage with medical advancements. So he's a little bit early, and he does have this big brace on his leg. And I think it was most notable when we were in the bubble yesterday. Everybody saw how big it was. We're a lot closer to the players inside the bubble. You really get a sort of up close view of where they are. He seemed to be moving fine. So, sometimes you have a mental hurdle you have to get over with these injuries. And remember, this is number 2 as far as torn ACLs go for Rodney McLeod. So sometimes the mental hurdle is more significant than the physical one. And if that brace gives him sort of a peace of mind, I think that's fine. But we have to sort of ascertain, is it giving him peace of mind, or is he concerned? And athletes are never going to say they're concerned. They're going to say they're fine, but something to keep an eye on.
We've come a long way in a short amount of in a short amount of time from the first 53. I'm trying to follow everything. Are we even at 53 on the roster right now with Ridgeway being added? Does that bring us back to 53? There's so many moving parts sometimes it's hard to follow everything.
Yeah, well, they had 3 spots created today by placing the players on injured reserve. Um, they added 2 players, and that were Andre and Hassan Ridgeway is back. So they still have room for one more, and we'll see what they do if they bring back a Richard Rodgers. They seem pretty stacked at tight end, so maybe they'll wait a little while there. Or, we talk about Jordan Howard on the practice squad. He could get elevated. They can go in a lot of different directions. That's the thing with the waiver wire. People got all focused, as they usually do, at the initial cut down and the waiver wire right after. Well, guys are going to be on and off all week, and you just saw today the Eagles saw somebody like they liked and were able to claim them and get them. That's going to continue. This extra week that is typically not there because the Eagles scaled back, not the Eagles, the NFL scaled back from 4 preseason games to 3 preseason games. So you have an extra week. You have an extra week to do all these roster mechanisms, and GMs get a chance to breathe a little bit more and take a look at the talent that is out there on the street. And remember, it's not just the waiver wire. All those guys that were waived on the cut down from 80 to 53, Krause, they're out there now. They're street free agents. You can sign any one of them at any time if you want to bring them into your program. Only 27 were claimed on the waiver wire after the cuts. So there's a lot of players out there.
Football 24/7 with NFL insider John McMullen as we come to you across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, share, and do subscribe. And before we continue on, Johnny Mac, shout out, big thank you, big salute to everyone consuming the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. The August numbers are in, just a hair under 5 million minutes of content consumed across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. A lot of minutes, a lot of people listening in to Birds 365 with Jody Mack and Johnny Mack, with The Middle, with Eitan, Harry, and Barrett, the National Football Show with Dan Cilio, and of course, Football 24/7 with John McMullen. Just a hair under 5 million minutes going into the start of football season. We're not moving pieces around the board here, Johnny Mack. We're moving forward, although on this football team, sometimes I feel like some of these moves are just moving pieces around the board. That's where I was going with that, with that thought. Do you feel that, or what? I'm waiting for somebody to come on somebody to be signed that's going to make an impact or make a difference going into the season.
Well, you're not going to find that this time of year, as Howie Roseman will tell you. I mean, talent gathering season is a lot lengthier than people think it is. But at this time of year, remember, everybody's got their players. They're not. There's occasionally you're going to see a trade with a disgruntled player that can make a difference or something of that nature. And we've talked ad nauseum about it to Deshaun Watson. Obviously, that would be the splashiest thing that could be done by the Houston Texans. But I mean, you're not going to find starters on the waiver wire. You're not going to find. Now, they might develop into something 2-3 years down the line. But yeah, I mean, if people are expecting difference makers after the cut to 53, that's not happening. And certainly, I saw, one disgruntled fan on social media, and I don't want to pick on people, but complaining about the Eagles practice squad. Now, I mean, I don't even know players on other teams' practice squad. These are from 54 to 69 on an NFL roster. You're just looking for some extra depth, some people that maybe can develop down the line. These are not difference making decisions. So I don't know. If people are expecting that, they should stop expecting that at this time of year.
Let's move into, before we do that, before I ask you about practice today and players on the podium and bring everybody up to speed on today's activity down in South Philadelphia, I did want to get your thoughts about Jack Driscoll. I know him going out and being out for 3 games. You know, we just spent a lot of time on yesterday's show talking about depth at the offensive line. You know, Driscoll is one of those pieces. You know, so how does that change the dynamic of the depth behind the starters, or doesn't it?
No, I don't think it changes much at all, to be honest, because Brett Toth, who was one of those players on the podium, he's better than Jack Driscoll. He's just better. So I talk a lot about the depth of the Eagles' offensive line. And it's pretty significant when you compare it to the rest of the league. Now, again, you don't want your backups playing. You never want your backups playing. But, you know, we are concerned. You have to be concerned. You always should be concerned about Lane Johnson because he's got a significant ankle issue that isn't going away. It isn't going away. He's already talked about having swelling this summer. Again, he said it's a lot better than last year. As he got the reconstructive surgery, but it's always going to be an issue for him. It's always going to be a little bit cranky at times. And look, we got 17 games, not 16. So you're probably going to need a right tackle or 2 starts from somebody else. I'd rather have Brett Toth out there than Jack Driscoll. I mean, he's proven he's better in the preseason. He's consistently played better in practice. He's the one guy who I said, you know, he forced the Eagles to put him on the roster because he was that good. You know, they were talking about Jack and LaRaven Clark and everybody else they brought in. They had to put him on the roster, and they did because he deserved it. And he deserves to play if they need somebody to replace Lane Johnson for a week or 2, hopefully. And they will be better with Brett Toth than Jack Driscoll. So I wouldn't be concerned about that.
Let's move in transition, Johnny Mac, into practice this afternoon, out of the bubble and back outside, I presume, for practice. How much do you know? How does it work if you only get an opportunity to watch stretching and then you're kind of hustled into the media room? How do you evaluate what's happening? They give you a shot sheet. They give you a play sheet. How does it work?
You got to be kidding me, Krause.
Yeah.
Come on. That's like, does the CIA tell you that they're listening to this right now? No, they don't tell you. They don't want you knowing anything. And they don't want the Atlanta Falcons, some intern in Atlanta, reading me on Sports Illustrated, or Zach Berman is going to be on Birds 365 tomorrow in The Athletic, and seeing something that will give them a little inkling of what the Eagles are going to do. And if anything, it's been even worse because Nick Sirianni has mentioned this pretty consistently. He thinks he has an advantage, at least early in the season, because people aren't going to know what to expect from the Eagles offense. And look, they'll catch up to it really quick as soon as that game's over in Atlanta. Everybody's got film on this offense and what they're going to do, and they'll start adjusting. But when everybody calls the NFL a copycat league, and it is, and I always say that, it's a very slow-moving copycat league. So it will take some other teams' time to sort of ascertain what the Eagles are trying to accomplish. And Nick thinks that will be an advantage, at least early in the season. He's probably right. So, yeah, they're very secretive. They don't want anything out there on the street. And this time of year, it's just the way it is in the NFL. You know, we go to practice mainly to see who's practicing and who isn't from an injury standpoint, um, and things like that. And you watch some individual drills, and then you go figure out things from talking to the players and coaches. And that's how you go about it.
Players on the podium that spoke yesterday, I believe you had when we talked about it, both the quarterback, well, two of the three quarterbacks were up on the podium. Who spoke today, John? Who was in press and who'd you talk to?
Today, it was a bunch of players that I think were surprises to make the roster, at least the people outside sort of the NovaCare complex. And Brett Toth was one of them. Jack Stoll, the undrafted tight end. Patrick Johnson, the 7th-round pick from Tulane, who was moved from edge rusher to linebacker. And then we had offensive coordinator Shane Steichen, who, if you want to talk about secretive, I mean, Shane is a really nice guy, but man, he gives you nothing. I mean, nothing. And Michael Clay, the special teams coordinator. So that's who was up at the podium today. And maybe it's because in Shane's instance, maybe it's because obviously the Eagles have an offensive head coach. So Nick Sirianni has ultimately control over the offense, just like Doug Peterson had here, whether it was Frank Reich or Mike Groh or Press Taylor or whomever. It was ultimately Doug Peterson's offense. Same thing with Shane Steichen. It's ultimately Nick Sirianni's offense. But when you talk about secretive and that question before, no, they're not. They're not handing out play sheets. I'll tell you that.
Football 24/7 with John McMullen. I guess safe to say we're promising an exciting opening to the 2021 season. Not quite sure what that means when we get to Sunday, September 12th in Atlanta, but it'll be a new day, and it'll be head coach Nick Sirianni's first crack at actually coaching when it counts, coaching for real. And when mistakes are made in the course of a football game, sometimes those mistakes are going to cost you the game. And with a new coach and a new young coaching staff, maybe there'll be more mistakes in the beginning than there will be later on. What do you think?
Oh, no question. I mean, everybody, as a rookie head coach, everybody learns on the job. Everybody's going to make mistakes. I think the key is, if you do make a mistake, don't repeat the mistake. Certainly don't repeat it consistently. So, yeah, I mean, there's going to be times where you scratch your head, and there are for every coach, from Bill Belichick on down. To this day, people will watch a Patriots game and they will criticize Bill Belichick for everything. So, I mean, to think Nick Sirianni's not going to face that is just not realistic. And look, I talk about it all the times. A lot of sort of immediate reactions to coaching decisions are terribly unfair. I constantly talk about play calling. People love to say this is a bad play call, this is a good play call. I say it all the time. You're not judging play calls, you're judging results. And a certain play call could be a bad play call, but maybe Devontae Smith makes a spectacular play and makes up for it. That doesn't make it a good play call. And on the other hand, you might have the greatest play dialed up for a certain situation, and if Jordan Mailata whiffs on his block and it gets blown up, nobody ever knows. Nobody ever knows it was the perfect play call. So, it's part of the job, and every NFL head coach has to understand that. You're gonna get ripped. So get ready, because even the greats, even the ones in the Hall of Fame, got ripped.
before we finish up with football 24/7, NFL insider John McMullen, let me take a quick programming reminder to tell everyone that the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, we've been talking about it. We're proud to start to fill in the blanks. We'll be offering up a pair of season tickets for the 2021 season. One lucky subscriber will win a pair of season tickets for all 8 home games during the 2021 season. We will announce the winner, and remember, you must be a subscriber, at a big event on the 16th, which is Thursday night, from 6 to 8 p.m. We'll be out at a great spot in King of Prussia called Screwballs. So anyone from logistically from the Philadelphia region, plan on being at Screwballs. All kinds of giveaways, but the grand finale, the big giveaway to start the season, will be a pair of Eagles season tickets for the 2021 season. That, Johnny Mac, right there is one hell of a prize.
That is a hell of a surprise. I can't be in that contest, can I, Krause?
John, you're going to be at every game anyway, brother.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Last thoughts from you, Johnny Mac. Anything specific that you want us to know that either I didn't ask or we may have missed from today's activity?
No, I think the roster shuffling will continue up until really around the league, up until next week starts, and really the preparation for week 1 starts around the league, the game planning and things of that nature. I'm going to get a few minutes with Jalen Hurts tomorrow, who's doing a sort of tour with Pepsi, interview tour. So going to get a little bit of one-on-one time with the quarterback. So if anybody has got a question they want to have asked to Jalen Hurts, you can go to my Twitter account, contact me there at JF McMullen. If it's good enough, maybe I'll ask the starting quarterback.
I love that, Johnny Mac. When does that take place? After practice tomorrow?
No, the Eagles are not practicing
no
tomorrow.
practice, okay.
Jalen's doing sort of a media tour, obviously a virtual media tour, where he's given 5 or 10 minutes to different reporters. And obviously he's plugging Pepsi as a sponsor, but you know, you get the one question about Pepsi and then you get into football.
Good stuff. We'll have that update, I guess, somewhere tomorrow. We'll find out. What does that mean, Johnny Mac? Is Jalen Hurts going to show up on Birds 365 tomorrow?
I wish. It's it's a 2:30 window. So I'm 2:30 to 2:40. I'll get to talk to the quarterback, and I'll be writing about it on Philly Voice and Sports Illustrated, and maybe somewhere else. We'll drop that hint soon.
Yeah, soon. Coming soon. Great stuff from NFL insider John McMullen. Come right back to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel tomorrow. Birds 365, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Jody Mack and Johnny Mack, Barrett Brooks and Harry Mays will be along with the middle. Eitan returns next Tuesday as he's off for the week. And then the National Football Show with Dan Cilio from 4 to 6 tomorrow across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Last time, one last thought, very important, again, Johnny Mac, for me to thank everybody for tuning in, for sharing, liking, subscribing, and consuming just a hair under 5 million minutes of content in the month of August. Shout out to our executive producer, Xander, who had his thumbprint on every single one of those minutes in the month of August. But it's really, really good stuff, exciting stuff, and a lot more coming as we get ready to get into the game on September 12th.
And I'm going to take credit for 50 of those minutes, Krause. 50 of those minutes.
I love it, Johnny Mac. If we break that down one day, you might be surprised at what it looks like. Good stuff from NFL insider John McMullen across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. On behalf of John, on behalf of Xander, and all of the subscribers, viewers, watchers, and those that like the video, I'm Joe Krause. See you next time, everybody. If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.